Rain poured outside the cafe window, each drop echoing like the loneliness in her heart. Clara sat by the corner table, her hands trembling slightly as she adjusted the blanket covering her legs. The smell of roasted coffee and cinnamon rolls should have felt comforting, but instead, it reminded her of the warmth she didn't have anymore. Her date, someone she had trusted after months of talking online, was gone. He had taken one look at her wheelchair, mumbled an excuse about a work call, and never came back. Her reflection in the window showed her trying to smile, trying to look unbothered, but her eyes told the truth. She wasn't okay. Ever since the accident 2 years ago that left her paralyzed from the waist down, every day had been a battle, against pity, against judgment, and worst of all, against her own doubts about being worthy of love. As she pushed the cup of cold coffee away, a small voice suddenly broke her silence. "Excuse me, miss, is this chair taken?" Clara looked up to see a little boy with a mop of curly brown hair and the most innocent eyes she had ever seen. Behind him stood a tall man in an expensive coat, holding 2 cups of hot chocolate and looking slightly embarrassed. "I'm sorry," the man said. "My son tends to make himself comfortable everywhere we go. Come on, Leo, let's not disturb the lady." But the boy shook his head stubbornly. "She looks sad, Daddy. Can we sit with her? Please?" For a moment, Clara's throat tightened. No one had looked at her that way in months, not with pity, but with genuine kindness. She forced a soft smile. "It's okay. You can sit here if you like." The man hesitated, then sighed and smiled politely. "Thank you. I suppose you've made my son's day." As they settled in, Leo began talking about his favorite superhero, his puppy named Max, and how he liked to sneak marshmallows into his hot chocolate when his dad wasn't looking. Clara found herself laughing for the first time in what felt like forever. The man watched her quietly, his gaze thoughtful, as if he was trying to understand the story behind her smile. When the laughter settled, he finally introduced himself. "I'm Adrian Cole," he said, offering his hand. "And this chatterbox is Leo." "Clara," she replied softly. Adrian's name sounded familiar, but she couldn't quite place it. Later she would realize he was the CEO of one of the largest tech companies in the city, a man used to power, wealth, and respect. But at that moment, he was just a kind father sharing a table with her on a rainy afternoon. They talked for hours. Clara told him about her accident, the drunk driver, the hospital months, and the endless therapy that followed. She spoke about how her fiancé left her when the reality of her condition became too inconvenient. "I stopped going out after that," she confessed. "But today, I thought maybe I was ready to try again. Guess I was wrong." Adrian's expression softened, his hand tightening around his cup. "No," he said quietly, "you weren't wrong. The wrong person left you sitting here. But that's not on you." Leo, sensing the sadness in her voice, reached across the table and took her hand. "My mom's in heaven," he said innocently. "Daddy says she watches us from the stars when we're sad. Maybe she's watching you too." Tears filled Clara's eyes before she could stop them. She smiled at the little boy through her tears. "Maybe she is," she whispered. That moment sparked something new. Adrian started visiting the cafe more often, always with Leo in tow. Sometimes they brought her flowers, sometimes a new book, sometimes just their company. The 3 of them became inseparable. Adrian admired Clara's strength, how she refused to give up despite everything. Clara, in turn, found herself drawn to the quiet kindness behind his confident exterior. But not everyone saw it that way. When people noticed the billionaire CEO spending time with a woman in a wheelchair, rumors started to spread. Some said she was after his money. Others said he pitied her. Clara overheard some of those whispers one evening, and it broke her heart. She started pulling away, convinced she didn't belong in his world. "I can't be the reason people look at you differently," she told him one night as they sat by the park where Leo was playing. Adrian turned to her, his jaw tight. "Clara, do you really think I care what people say? You changed my life. You reminded me what kindness feels like. You made my son smile again. Do you think any of that is worth giving up because of gossip?" She looked away, tears falling silently. "You deserve someone who can walk beside you, not someone who slows you down." Adrian kneeled beside her wheelchair, his eyes steady on hers. "You're wrong," he said softly. "I deserve someone who lifts me up when I forget how to feel, and that's you, Clara." At that moment, Leo ran toward them, laughing, holding a handful of wildflowers. He handed them to Clara with a grin. "For you," he said, "because Daddy smiles every time he talks to you." Clara couldn't hold back her tears anymore. She realized then that love wasn't about perfection. It was about connection. Months passed, and their bond deepened. Adrian made no grand gestures, no pity gifts. Instead, he made her feel seen, valued, and loved for who she was. And when he finally proposed, it wasn't in a fancy hall or in front of cameras. It was in that same café, at that same corner table, where a broken heart had found a reason to hope again. As she said yes, Leo cheered so loud that everyone turned to look. Adrian laughed, pulling them both into a hug. And for the first time in years, Clara didn't feel like the paralyzed woman who had been left behind. She felt like a woman who had been found by love, by family, and by faith in herself.